Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank all of my colleagues for their comments today on the damage Trumpcare would do. Democrats, patients, families have been fighting back against Trumpcare and Republican efforts to jam it through Congress for months. So I want to take a moment and recall some of the promises President Trump and Republicans made at the very beginning of this process, because there truly is a grand canyon between President Trump's promises and the Trumpcare bill he has now admitted himself is mean. Mr. President, at the start, President Trump promised to provide insurance for everybody that was both cheaper and higher quality. When Trumpcare was introduced in the House, Secretary Price said no one would be worse off financially, quote, under the law. And when Speaker Ryan was asked whether millions of people would lose their insurance coverage under Trumpcare, he said no. Families were told again and again that Trumpcare would lower costs and keep people covered. But Mr. President, as we know, Trumpcare would do the exact opposite. It will raise health care costs for people across the country astronomically for those with pre-existing conditions and for seniors who could pay as much as 850% more in premiums. Medicaid would be gutted. Women and men would be unable to get care from the providers they trust and choose at Planned Parenthood. New mothers would pay as much as $1,000 more a month just to get maternity care a month. Tens of millions of people would see their health care coverage taken away. I could continue, and I want to be clear, those facts came from the nonpartisan, independent Congressional Budget Office. But unfortunately and unsurprisingly, when Trumpcare passed the House, President Trump ignored those facts and doubled down on his broken promises. He championed Trumpcare, calling it the very, very well crafted. He promised to get Trumpcare through the Senate, predicting that it would be an unbelievable victory. And his Secretary of Health and Human Services even called this bill, which again would take away health care coverage from 23 million people, a victory for the American people. Which people, Mr. President? Maybe President Trump, maybe special interests who are going to get these massive tax breaks, but not the hundreds of thousands of people in Washington state who are rightly scared of Trumpcare, or millions more across the country. Mr. President, Democrats have come to the Senate floor with story after story about how our constituents would suffer under this legislation. Workers who would not be able to make ends meet between jobs without losing health insurance. Seniors who know they will go bankrupt if Trumpcare becomes law. Moms who stay up at night worrying about whether their child with a pre-existing condition will be priced out of coverage. Patients fighting for their lives who are afraid that Trumpcare will kill them and who are literally begging Congress not to do this. Mr. President, to these patients and families, President Trump's decision to finally admit the incredibly obvious that Trumpcare is mean doesn't begin to cover it. To them, that bill is a gut punch. It is the bottom dropping out. It could be a death sentence. And this is especially true because as hard as Senate Republicans have tried to keep their version of Trumpcare secret behind closed doors and in back rooms, as often as some have made promises just like those of President Trump and House Republicans were making to try to reassure their constituents somehow that the Senate version of Trumpcare would be somehow less mean, the truth is, we know the Senate version of Trumpcare will be just as damaging. Senate Republican leaders have already admitted that they expect their Trumpcare bill to mirror 80% of the House. We have House conservatives writing letters to Senate Republicans, making their demands even meaner that many Senate Republicans want. And we all have a good idea how this is going to end up. Mr. President, mean doesn't even begin to cover what Trumpcare would do to my constituents in Washington and to people across the country. But it's a start. I haven't said this often, but I hope Senate Republicans listen to President Trump. This is a man who knows about mean, from making fun of a reporter with disabilities, to belittling our friend, the junior senator from Florida, to even impugning the senior senator from Arizona, a war hero. When President Trump says something is mean, That certainly means something. So, Mr. President, I hope they think about why he had to make that comment. They realize just how hard it will be to defend this truly appalling legislation, especially after it has been jammed through Congress, hidden from patients, hidden from families, without seeing the light of day. And then I hope they do what you tell preschoolers to do when they do something mean. Apologize and make sure to do better next time. In Senate Republicans' case, that means dropping this effort to undermine families' health care once and for all, and then joining with us to continue fixing health care for the people we serve by making health care more affordable, getting more families covered, and maintaining quality of care. Democrats have ideas. We're at the table. We're ready to get to work with you as soon as Republicans are. It is not too late to make the right choice. The wrong choice is far more than mean. And if my Republican colleagues do continue down this deeply harmful path, they should know they will own every bit of the hurt they cause, and they will be held fully accountable. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.